What's up? What's good, everybody? It's Big Game James, man. I'm back in the building. You know how we do. And guess what? We're talking today, and I got a real kind of maybe a passionate subject today, and it's about Connor McGovern, man. I did a video. I've been on the Connor McGovern train since they picked him up in the third round from Penn State. I was liking them. They picked him up after they scooped Connor Williams the year prior in the second round. People were curious, was it for depth? Was it for his replacement? What was going on? But obviously he had the injury toward the pec his first year, missed his whole rookie year, came back. The next year had to beat a little bit of the injury bug, but eventually had, a pretty decent season in 2019. I'm sorry. Yes, 2019, where he played right guard in replacement for Zach Martin. And then we saw 2020. Let me get these years right. 2019, he missed. They drafted him in 2019. I apologize. 2020. He came back in the COVID season, played the right guard position when Zach Martin went out. Terrence Smith played the right tackle because La'el Collins was out the whole year. Then 2021, he played left guard. But I got some things I'd like to talk to you about right quick and maybe some food for thought in this battle. And one of the things I want to talk about is with this Connor McGovern thing. People maybe self-doubt myself with Connor McGovern. When he had the 5-game stretch when Connor Williams had like 15 penalties on holding penalties, and we were all wanting to see Connor McGovern finally play, and then he got in and he struggled a little bit. Wasn't terrible, wasn't crazy, but Cowboys fans are impatient. They cry about every single little thing. As soon as he wasn't doing the immaculate job and, he got beat a couple plays, take him out. That's Cowboys fans. I don't know how the other fans are, but that's how Cowboys fans are. You replace somebody, you got to play perfect football. That's why Terrence Steele, I feel sorry for you, because Cowboy fans are going to rip you a new one when you mess up a little bit, but that's just the way it is. But anyway, I got some nuggets right here while I'm doing all this talking. First of all, let's jump in here and look at what Connor McGovern did this past season. Everybody's like, oh, Connor McGovern, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? He took in for Connor Williams, who we know he struggled with power. But let's look at the stats. 499 snaps, only 2 penalties, only 1 sack given up in those 5 games. Only 1 sack given up. That's not terrible to me. We ain't going to go by those pass blocking. This is PFF. I do like them, but I look at those stats because they have all those, not necessarily all the grades, because the grades can be weird and ridiculous. But let's look at the snaps. Penalties, 2. Sacks allowed, 1. Hits allowed, 3. May gave up a little bit of pressure, but that was like the first 2 games you went against Kansas City all-world guys up front. So, and it wasn't just him. It was Zach Martin that struggled in that Kansas City game too. So it wasn't like it was all a Connor McGovern thing. But let's go to the 2020 season because, remember, he missed 2019. This is when he played exclusively at right guard, and I got a nugget for you people out there. But this 606 snaps, only 1 penalty, 3 sacks given up, and he had lost his way the last game of the season against the Giants, but that was just a bad game as a whole. But let's look at this right here. Only 16 total pressure given up in like 9-10 games in his first real action, coming out of nowhere because he missed his whole rookie season. So that was pretty much like his rookie season. This was pretty much, last year was pretty much his second year, and he still didn't get any work. So when everybody's talking about Connor McGovern this and Connor McGovern that, we haven't even got a chance to really see Connor McGovern. He hasn't had a full offseason where you're saying you're the starter. You're going to be the starter. You're going to be this guy in the middle, and this is what you're going to do. Connor McGovern hasn't even had that opportunity. So that's why I get a little frustrated with this Joe Philbin thing, because when he came in on the scene after them getting rid of Mark Colombo, who I loved, he brought the attitude and the pain that I thought, and the aggressive attitude that I thought the team needed. But, they wanted to go another route. Okay, let's do that. So these are just some of his grades during the season in 2021 as you listen to me talk. But they were all saying, let's Joe Philbin this, Joe Philbin that. I wasn't high on Joe Philbin in 2020. I said I didn't like what he was doing. But everybody was like, well, look, he moving Zach Martin over here. Of course, because they didn't have nobody. La'el Collins was going at right tackle. They didn't have nobody. Injuries was across the line, across the board. And then he moved Zach Martin. Zach Martin was already good. Zach Martin was already all-world. Zach Martin had already played tackle in college. So it wasn't foreign to him to be able to do it. So it wasn't like he did some miraculous thing. Only thing he did was move move a player who hadn't played there at no time in the NFL, I don't believe. And if he did, it was only a couple snaps. So we can't just give these big hand claps to Joe Philbin like he did something crazy. Now, I will go to Terrence Steele. Let me go to him right quick. Terrence Steele, you know what? This was his 2020 season. We saw what a 2020 season. We were all like, what are you doing, Joe Philbin? Get somebody else out there. He's getting killed. Gave up 9 sacks. He struggled, 6 penalties. You saw the struggle what Terrence Steele did. So I'm going to give him props. Maybe he did develop Terrence Steele, or maybe just Leo Collins just played so bad that you ain't have nobody else, but Terrence Steele was just going to make himself a better player. I don't know if I can still give you props because Connor Williams ain't developed. He was already a good, a solid player before you got there. He's gone. Leo Collins is gone. Tyler Biadasz under your watch has not developed. And this is what I'm going to talk about as I'm saying this about Terrence Steele. As you can see his numbers right here. And this is exclusive because he's a right tackle. Remember, see, the problem is Cowboys always want to flex every single time. I get it. You want to have guys that can play multiple positions. I get that. But now you don't have to do that with every single player because this guy right here, Terrence Steele, is a right tackle. He played exclusively that his first season as an undrafted rookie, a tackle. He took his lumps, but you saw how much better he got. Let's go to 2021. Took his lumps. He got better. I mean, he forced Leo Collins, but Leo Collins just kind of, he kind of did his own thing, kind of forced his own self out. But you look at his snaps, almost identical as far as the snaps. 8 penalties, not bad. 2 sacks only. Yeah, that's a big difference from 9 to 2. So you saw the improvement right there. Look at the pressures. I mean, things have went down all the way across the board, and you saw how much better Steele played and how much athletic he was, and maybe the arrows going to continue to point up. I think as long as he continues to work and play hard, I think it will. But while we're going to that, let's go right here. I want to tell you a few things while we're looking at Terrence Steele. Let me go back to Connor McGovern right quick. And I want to talk about what his dad told me. I talked to his father today. Me and him just inboxed. I just happened to inbox him, asked him, because he followed me on Twitter. I said, you Connor McGovern's dad? He said, yeah. We got to talking. And here's a few things that he talked to me about. Well, first, let's look at this right here. Look at his draft profile. Connor McGovern's draft profile. Like I said, they moved Terrence Steele to left tackle. That's not his position. He's a right tackle. Keep him where he's good. You put him in left tackle, he struggled. And that's what may be happening with Connor McGovern. Doesn't mean Connor McGovern all of a sudden a bad player, because that's how y'all try to play him. Y'all try to play him like he was a bad player. He's not a bad player. He's actually a good player. He's still young. He's a good player. Y'all saved him from taking other people taking him. Other people were looking at, we want Connor McGovern. So other people must think he's kind of good. Wasn't nobody poaching Connor Williams, I don't believe. It wasn't never poaching Connor Williams, but they was trying to poach Connor McGovern from you. Y'all said, well, y'all going to keep him. And this is what it was right here. Connor McGovern played center in 2017, right guard in 2016 and 2018. He only allowed 15 pressures and 464 pass blocking snaps. That is when he played at Penn State. But here's the thing. I talked to his dad. So when I talked to his dad, this is what his dad told me, a few things. I asked his dad, first of all, how he felt about the situation. And he told me when he played left guard this past season, it was the first time he played left guard in his whole entire life. So I can understand some struggles. You have been playing right guard, center, because it says right here, this is me and his dad talking. This is what his dad said to me. I have that right there. I'm sorry. That's not what I wanted to get to. This is what I wanted to get to. Apologize about that. That was talking about something else. But this is what Connor McGovern's dad says to me. He goes, going into his junior year, he was a Remington nominee. They moved him back to guard to get the best 5 on the field. He played center all 4 years in high school and was the top center in the country, but he wasn't drafted by the staff, and specifically Philbin. I laugh when they say he has trouble with snaps. Not one botched snap in high school or college. I also heard on 105 that he lacked the mental capacity to play. The same week he played 5 positions in a game. He's talking about high school. People say goofy things, laugh out loud via Jim McGovern. And then let's go right here. This is another nugget that he told me. And this is from Jim McGovern's dad right here as well. He says, pull this up. He says, where we at? Each line coach is different. The biggest thing is whether schemes fit individual strengths, and the coach is a master technical teacher. That part is certainly debatable. Hey, he ain't going off, but he's saying a few things. I know Connor's been working hard at left guard steps with a retired line coach familiar with Philbin. So he's trying to do his thing. Not only is he a guy that's working, he's trying to work to get better at left guard. And I don't even want him at left guard. I want y'all to play him at center. Okay, so here's the thing. All I know is he is bigger. I love the Cowboys strength staff. The back-to-back rookie pec injuries was a tough setback. Then the coach change, and then COVID. Most of the install and technical adjustments were done on the line. As an educator, I can tell you that it is another world. Learning loss is real. I think you will see a big improvement from players across the board this year. This is what Connor McGovern's father had to say about him and just in the staff in general. And I think that's very kind of telling on what he just said. Number one, what he said was Connor McGovern was a center his whole career. Center. He was a backup center on the depth chart last year, and he was a backup right guard. They didn't have him at backup left guard. They had Lyle Collins there when he came back from his injury. Understand what I'm saying? So you had Lyle Collins, who was at left guard. You had Connor McGovern at center and right guard. That's his best position. So he still was able to go over there, and you've seen his numbers. I showed you his numbers. His numbers weren't terrible. Yeah, you saw the little he lost his way a little bit here in that in that New Orleans and Washington game. They got a really good front. But guess what? I see right here in those 5 games that he started, he only gave up 1 sack, and that was his first game in. Okay, first game in, gave up 1 sack. Yeah, he gave up pressures. Yeah, you're going to do that. That's going to happen. But he wasn't getting manhandled, wasn't getting destroyed. And I'm going to show some things while I'm still talking and let y'all look. Like y'all try to say, well, people just saying, oh, he was just getting killed. He was just getting murdered. And y'all can watch this while I'm talking, because this is a Connor McGovern tape I made about him. And I said, okay, yeah, I mean, he did. One thing I know about Connor McGovern is he can play with power. You know what I'm saying? He can play with power. As I pause it right there. You know what? I'm going to pause it right there because I want to go to Tyler Biadasz. This is where he needs to be playing, okay? Now, I said don't throw Tyler Biadasz away. Let's see what you got in him. But then I had to go back. See, I go back in the profiles and history, and I'll go back way back when, and let's see what was really going on. So when I went to Tyler Biadasz, I looked at him, and this is what I looked at. This was his NFL draft profile. Listen what it says. Biadasz took a step back in pass protection this season is worrisome. As a run blocker, though, he's accomplished as any center we ever graded. They say that about everybody, so I don't take that as a grain of salt. The value of a center with pass pro concerns, though, is not particularly high. And then it goes talking about how he was a defensive end or defensive lineman. We get it. I've seen position changes. We've seen position changes all the time. But here's the alarming thing I want to see at the very end. After taking a redshirt year in 2016, Biadasz was moved away from the defensive line and started 14 games at center for the Badgers as a redshirt freshman in 2017. He had never snapped the football before that season, per SB Nation, but the results have been nothing but encouraging. But I don't care. He had never snapped the football before that season. You have a guy in Connor McGovern who has played center his whole life and played right guard. Y'all know he's a center because y'all have him at the backup position behind Biadasz. Biadasz has struggled. Why don't you sit there and have Connor McGovern compete for that center spot and figure it out right there? Connor McGovern has been playing it his whole life. So why are we sitting back and sitting there saying Biadasz is going to start over Connor McGovern? Connor McGovern has played right guard and played it well. I'm sure he can play center because that's his natural position, and he played left guard. So that's 3 positions along the line of scrimmage that he has played, and Tyler Biadasz has played with how many positions? 1, center. He hasn't been great at it. They're talking about getting a center in Tyler Linderbaum in the first-round pick. It could happen, so you're still trying to replace it. But why do that? First of all, Joe Philbin may not be the right guy as the offensive line coach because he's not developing these guys, because we still haven't seen what happens to Matt Faranock or Josh Ball. People are already talking about you need to get offensive line in this draft, and you have draft players from 20 2020 and 2021, and you're not even talking about them. So that has to be, to me, indicative on the offensive line coaching. Something needs to happen there, because you clearly need to see these guys are developing. Because what's the point of keep on drafting these players and then they keep leaving and you don't develop and they continue to stay on your team? So you have Williams, who's gone. Now you have possibly Connor McGovern, who could be gone, and Tyler Biadasz, who's falling right behind him because you're not developing him. So what you need to do is this: you need to put out a competition between Connor McGovern and Tyler Biadasz and let the best man win, which I think will be Connor McGovern. He's the more stronger, powerful player. He doesn't have the crazy foot speed, but I think he can get away with it playing the center position because he's done it. But like I said, as you read right here, look at the grades right here, and it says Biadasz clearly struggled to elevate his game significantly since stepping onto the field for Wisconsin. What has he been doing since he's got in Dallas? He had those 4 games because he missed a lot of his rookie year, played a little bit toward the end, but he hasn't got better, right? So that's a pattern and a trend. So if that's the case and you have a guy who I think is a better player, then get the best players on the field and stop playing around, because it doesn't make no sense why they're forcing Biadasz or get another player, then you got people sitting the bench. That doesn't make sense. So you have 2 more offensive linemen. You see, they're talking about drafting good, but those are drafting mistakes in my opinion. You need to let this guy Connor McGovern take over, and then maybe you can extend him now. And then when you have him on the cheap, which you like Stephen Jones, you have him on the cheap, and then you have a good center for the next 4 or 5 years, and you're not paying him a lot of money because he missed his first year. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's the smart thing to do. And as I said before, with this, as we can watch some tape, I didn't see where Biadasz was just getting murdered every single time. Yeah, he lost his way sometimes up here at Kansas City and the Raiders. I thought that was his best statistical game. As you see him right there, 66. Look at him. I didn't think he was just getting murdered. And then, yeah, New Orleans, they didn't have a bad front. They had a pretty good front in New Orleans. And like I said, this dude has never played left guard ever in life. Okay, we have to look at that before we're going nuts in 5 games talking about Connor McGovern is trash. Connor McGovern is no good. Connor McGovern, no. See, that's them people out there in them streets that, you know, they want to push these certain players, right? See, that's the narrative that they want to push out there, that this player is good and this player is bad, and then it gets everybody talking about these players. And ain't nobody watched no tape. Ain't nobody looked at none of these players, but they swear this player is a bad player. I always have liked Connor McGovern from A1 day one. And yes, I did say, let's go ahead and go back with Connor Williams, because the chatter was so damn loud about everybody crying about Connor McGovern, saying Connor Williams was this drastic, great tackles. You keep watching 66. He's not getting manhandled. He lost his way a little bit, but he wasn't getting killed even in this Chiefs game. Zach Martin gave up some plays too in this game. But you look him right here, he's playing pretty good and stout, and I bet you if he played that center position, he could hold it down, and the offense could be even better if you allowed him to play his most natural position instead of force him to left guard. Because if you draft another center and put him out there, then you're going to put Biadasz in this position to where Connor McGovern just be sitting the bench. You're going to try to figure out who's your left guard, and it might be a rookie. Okay, that's cool, but don't sit there and try to make this dude the left guard when that's not his best spot. And he can play it for you. You see, he can play it for you. You see, he's working out. He's trying to get better at left guard. But he's not your natural left guy that you're going to do that. Get you the rookie right there and put him at center, man. So I'm pushing the case for Connor McGovern to play center. Your dad said he lost a little bit of weight right there. We'll see that. But you should have caught that. But my thing is, you sit there and say you're trying to develop these young players, but I don't see the development along this offensive line. These guys need to play, and you need to find a spot for Connor McGovern. And to me, he needs to be competing for the starting center spot. And if anything, you should allow him, if he outplays Biadasz, which I definitely think he can, he needs to be your starting center. And how about you let him be the starting center the whole time? You know, if the problem is you guys never have given Connor McGovern a chance to ever just say he's the starter going into the whole season. There hasn't been that chance of him doing that. Since there hasn't been that chance of him doing that, where is it he really got to really sit down and settle in at a spot and really go hard in it? Terrence Steele can do it. So if you sit there and say you've been anointed the right tackle and we got rid of this player, you really need to go hard and really take it to the next level because we believe in you. So I lost his way a little bit. That's all pro right there, big dog. That's all pro. That's your first game at left guard ever. You're going against an all pro. It's not like and I showed it again. Chris Jones, that's an all pro. You've never played left guard ever in your life. Not in the high school, not in college, not in the NFL. And this is your first game starting against all pro. Does it sound like I'm crying the blues? No, but dude, look how well he still played in those 5 games before you sat him down and everybody's crying the blues. Look at so that's my push. I'm telling y'all, Connor McGovern needs to be the starting center. Let him battle it out, but I think he takes over. And Connor McGovern needs to be your starting center. And then you have him for the future. Dangle Biadish. See what you can get for him because he can only play one position. He can't play multiple positions also, although McGovern will probably be a more valuable player. That's why people are trying to poach him. You understand what I'm saying? But get your starting center now. This can be McGovern. Don't waste this pick. This can be a good pick. You're wasting these picks. You lost to Reggie Robinson. You lost a few other players in them 3rd and 4th rounds are getting tricky now. This needs to be a 3rd rounder, even though it wasn't under this staff, that can develop and make a good wave as a player with the system. So this is my push. Connor McGovern needs to be the starting center, needs to compete for the center position this year, and he needs to be I believe he can win out and be the starting center, and he needs to be your starting center going forward. And then you can figure out maybe getting some capital for Biadish and draft you your left guard for the future. Maybe your left tackle might be in Josh Ball later on, and then I feel like you're solidifying the line right there. But letting Connor McGovern sit on the bench or trying to pigeonhole him at left guard because you don't know what you're doing with that is just not good football development to me, in my opinion. So that's just my thoughts on it. Big Game James, tell you how you feel.